about Malalai. We're very interested to understand, in your own words, what have been the consequences. We are at the 12th anniversary of one of the longest war in U.S. history. What are the consequences of those years of occupation in Afghanistan?
Before answering your question, good evening to everyone and nice to meet you all. I would like to thank friends and supporters of the United Nations Anti-War Coalition and Afghan Women Mission who invited me this time in US to bring the message of suffering people of Afghanistan, especially its unfortunate women, to you. And also I want to thank our dear friend Dennis on behalf of all of you who organized this event tonight and gave me this opportunity to be with justice loving people like you and bring the message of my people to you and ask for your solidarity. And I'm so happy that tonight I'm with dear Francis Crowe, who is a symbol for struggle against occupation for freedom, and as her story inspired me a lot. And tonight I'm with her itself is enough to show the huge difference between the US people and the US government that who is waging the war and doing war crimes. Great people like Francis Crowe and all of you, and also people like personalities like Professor Chomsky's and these many Chomsky's. Your support means a lot for us, as gives us more hope, courage, determination to continue to this struggle against occupations, against warmongers, for democracy, peace. And according your question, as yesterday, I think 7th October was the day of anniversary of occupation of Afghanistan by US and NATO. And unfortunately, after 12 years, still these Afghans, they suffer from injustice, insecurity, corruption, joblessness, poverty. And the consequences of these bloody years was more crimes, more women's rights, human rights violations, as during this 12 years they have changed Afghanistan to the center of the drug, as today more than 90% of opium produced from Afghanistan. And I believe opium even more dangerous than war in Al-Qaeda destroyed the life of these innocent Afghans. As now around 2 million Afghans, they are addicted, and most of them are women and children. And also there is another report, Afghanistan is the most dangerous place to be woman, according to UNIFEM. And also they have, now Afghanistan is the second most corrupt country in the world, while during this 12 years of occupation, this corrupt regime of Hamid Karzai from the so-called international community received around $65 billion. And this list can be prolonged, as they have changed Afghanistan to their laboratory, changing these, testing these dangerous weapons there, and did a lot of massacres during this 12 years. Tens of thousands of innocent civilians have been killed, most of them women and children. Even used white phosphorus, cluster bomb, and did bomb our wedding parties. And these cruel soldiers, they are making fun with the dead bodies of these Afghan, or urinating on corpses. You may hear the news of Spiegel that broadcast recently. And many examples like this, they continue to their war crime under the name of so-called war on terror or fighting against Taliban. And now, under the name of National Peace Reconciliation, going to bring these terrorist Taliban also in power. And Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, who is a fascist man, has named this 12 years of occupation was in the blacklist, and now, without at least to say apologize to these Afghans, invite him to join this corrupt puppet mafia regime. This is what briefly I told you about the consequences of occupation, while there's many examples that to share with you.
Thank you. Could you talk specifically about the impact on women in Afghanistan of the U.S. occupation?
Yes, as catastrophic situation of women was very good excuse for US and NATO to occupy our country, and even sometimes they misuse from the miseries of these Afghan. And today, forced marriages, domestic violences, acid attacks, burning the girls' schools, even poisoned the girls' schools, and cut the nose and ears of the woman, and different kind of violences against women increasing more and more, even skyrocketing. And while Western governments they are talking to you through their propaganda machine, mainstream media, that women of Afghanistan now they are free and they can go to schools. I want to say, or for example, they say that a lot of women they are in power right now in the parliament of Afghanistan, this mafia parliament that we have. Let me say these are just big lies because it is true in Kabul and some big cities, some women they have access to job and education, but in most of provinces, in rural areas, women even do not have human life. Same like Taliban time, we have jungle law, like this Taliban and also this Gulbuddin Hekmatyar party, these terrorists, and also these warlords kidnap the girls and women, threw acids on their faces, rape them, even publicly execute them. Like just few months ago, a few kilometers away from Kabul, there a young woman, her name was Najiba, she has been prosecuted by a fundamentalist Islamic party of Gulbuddin Hekmatyar by Kalashnikov shooted on her whole body in public, and it broadcast by TV just like a bird has been killed. And also some pictures I have in some other provinces how publicly they are beating women with lashes and shoot on their head. Two women in Ghazni province that they killed in public. I will show you later through slideshow. Anyway, still women they suffer a lot and their self-emulation is skyrocketing. To get rid of all of these miseries, they burn themselves because there is no justice. Nowadays, I follow the case of Shakila, a 16-year-old girl. She has been raped and then killed by a member of the Provincial Council of Bamiyan province. And three other members of the parliament, they are partner in this case, in this crime, and they are trying to forge the medical report of this raped girl. And later I will tell you more about the tragic story of Shakila, that now I'm working on this and trying to, through my support, internationally support. At least do not let this fundamentalist court that we have to end this case in the favor of the rapist. This is what they are going to do this. And many examples like this, that situation of women is still disaster, and especially that now they invite Taliban, these Gulbuddin Hekmatyar terrorists, who even in 70s, on that time, they threw the seeds on the face of these activist women. The situation will be more disaster, more bloody, especially for the women of our country. And briefly to tell you about role of these women who are in power. Most of them they have symbolic role. They are pro-warlords, pro-occupation women. But real representative of women, we have very few there that who are in power. But out of parliament and out of this government, I mean that we have many activist women that who are risking their life and doing a lot for the people, especially women.
So there's been a lot of discussion. The U.S. Has been discussing that perhaps part of the solution to the mess they made with the U.S. occupation was negotiations with the Taliban and constructing some sort of unity government with them. What's your reaction to that proposal?
I think that such kind of so-called peace, in my point of view, will be more dangerous than even current war, because it will make unite the enemies of Afghan, especially these misogynist reactionary terrorists like warlords who are in power with the mask of democracy. This 11 years imposed on Afghan people, and under the name of democracy, human rights, committed crimes. And now they invite another bunch of killers like Taliban to join this puppet corrupt mafia regime. So the result of this such kind of so-called peace will be release more wolves in the skin of lambs to continue to their crimes. And peace with the sworn support of sworn enemies of the peace and democracy impossible to bring, especially in the way that we witness this 12 years the role of these Northern Alliance fundamentalists. And the first demand of my people is justice, and they want justice for these occupiers who are doing blind bombardment, and also these terrorist Taliban warlords, and they want people that they should be tried. But unfortunately they impose, and now even they betray the peace. Peace without justice and independence of our country is just meaningless. And this kind of peace is just, I mean that US and NATO, they just want peace for themselves in expense of putting our people more in danger and risk and tragedies like what they are doing nowadays. Anyway, our people don't need such kind of peace. And again I say this peace make more unite the enemies of Afghan to be easier for them to eliminate democratic minded people of our country and continue more to their fascism against our people.
So today in the New York Times there was a big discussion about 2014 being the year that the US would withdraw, and a debate of sorts, of sort of a propaganda debate between the United States government and Hamid Karzai about whether or not supposedly whether or not U.S. troops would be allowed to remain in Afghanistan. What's the truth about the proposed U.S. or the supposed U.S. withdrawal? What do you expect to happen?
First, I want to say that people of the world, they should know that as now my people understand, it become like an open secret for them that US and NATO came there for their own strategic, regional and economic interests. And that's why they will never leave Afghanistan voluntarily, as they are fortunately under the pressure from their own people, from the justice-loving people of the US and around the world. They will withdraw a few thousands of their troops, but their military bases will remain there, and also this puppet regime that they are going to make it more powerful by bringing in power these terrorist Taliban and Gulbuddin Hekmatyar too. So as from one hand they are talking about withdrawal of their troops, from another hand they are working right now on 9 major military bases, and they are expanding their military bases, and they have countless secret military bases there. In a country which has foreign military bases, US military bases, they can't expect that they have independence. And talking about values like democracy, human rights is just a ridiculous joke. And if they stop these foreigner empowering of these reactionary terrorists like warlords, Taliban, and these bunch of killers of 3 decades of the war, also puppet of Russia, who also in power have Kipus and Karzai's regime. In the past they were talking about secularism, today they are talking about Islam, this political Islam. Anyway, if they stop empowering these terrorists, then my people, they can fight reactionary these terrorists, and also to bring values like democracy and build their country even with empty hands. But the problem is these foreigners, these US and NATO, that they still empowering these terrorists. As I said earlier, they are a great obstacle for these Afghan. And itself is enough to show the hypocrisy of the US government. For example, this 11 years, they were saying 12 years that we are there to fight against Taliban. But now they publicly, US officials and these other Western governments officials who have troops there in the name of NATO, they occupied our country. They say Taliban are not their enemies anymore. And I think they are true. Because at least this 12 years on behalf of my people, this 10 years, I was saying that Taliban and these warlords, all these terrorists are product of the White House, and they are the only enemies of Afghan people, not their foreign master, as now they say. Anyway, they are there for their own dirty agendas, as we are in the heart of Asia, when they remain their military bases and also their puppet regime. Even indirectly, also it's easier for them to control Afghanistan through their puppets, and then they will very easily have access to gas and oil of the Central Asian republics, as now they are working very hard on pipeline there. You may know about this here, and also they will show threat to these other competing countries, Asian powers. And also they are making billions of dollars through opium industry every year. And it was one of the main projects of CIA that they have changed Afghanistan to the center of drug. Later I will show you the report through slide. Anyway, they are there for their own dirty agendas and will never leave Afghanistan voluntarily. Yes, they say civil war will happen, but today itself is like civil war. Nobody's talking about today's civil war, but the current civil war that they are talking, no question that situation will be more disaster and our people will witness darker days, especially these Democrat activists like us who are doing this struggle. Why? Because the Taliban and also these Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, these other terrorists more join this regime, this puppet mafia regime. So it is more risky for us and they will more eliminate these Democrats especially, and also these suffer people of my country. So behind of this propaganda of civil war, again I say, is the hand of the US, especially for make afraid the people accept our military bases to be legalized, otherwise civil war will happen.
So you described the regime as a puppet mafia regime, and you explained that they're going to have 9 military bases no matter what. So where does the upcoming presidential election in Afghanistan fit into this picture? What does it offer any vehicle for change or not?
Yeah, as all of us believe that election is a main sign of democracy, but unfortunately in my country it become like a tool in the hands of occupiers and this corrupt puppet mafia regime that we have for making legalize their occupation and give legitimacy to all these crimes that they are doing. And our people call this is not election, it is selection, because this 12 years we experienced many times such kind of so-called free election, presidential and also parliamentarian election. We have a famous saying in Afghanistan, it's not important who is voting, it's important who is counting. Because all these boxes in the hands of these corrupt people, as they wish they count. But Democrat representative also we have a lot that who are running, but unfortunately very limited chance for them. Few Democrat they allow to win for showcase of democracy.